Everyone laughed at him for only knowing healing magic, until he used it to literally cure death and revive an army. I'm your anime, and let's go. Imagine being expelled from the hero's party because your only skill is healing. Imagine being beaten and tortured every single day for 3 straight years because you're considered too weak and worthless to fight back. Now imagine that same healing power everyone mocked becoming so absolutely broken that you can reverse death itself, bring back entire armies from the grave, cure impossible diseases, and literally heal your own timeline to travel back in time. This is the story of Keyaru, a 14-year-old boy who everyone called useless, pathetic, and weak. A healer who went from being the most abused and degraded member of the legendary heroes party to becoming the single most terrifying and powerful force on the entire continent. Everyone in this world thought healing was the weakest form of magic in existence. They laughed at him when he said he wanted to be a great healer. They mocked him when his magic awakened. They beat him when he couldn't heal fast enough. They stopped laughing when he started healing corpses back to life and building an unstoppable army of the undead that literally couldn't be killed. Before we dive into this absolutely insane journey of revenge, resurrection, and completely rewriting reality itself, smash that like button right now if you love watching underdogs prove everyone wrong in the most spectacular and brutal way possible. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss another epic recap like this one, and drop a comment down below telling me what magical ability you'd want if you lived in a fantasy world. Seriously, after you hear this story, you might actually pick healing magic. It's way more overpowered than you think. Now let's get into it. Keyaru is 14 years old when his healing power first awakens. He lives in a small farming village called Renalia on the very edge of the Jural Kingdom, and his life up until this point has been completely unremarkable. His father is a farmer, his mother makes bread, his older sister helps with the animal. They're poor but happy, living simple lives far from the wars and conflicts that plague the rest of the continent. Keyaru himself is a quiet kid who helps around the farm and dreams of becoming someone important someday. Not a warrior or a hero, just someone who matters. Someone people remember. Everything changes on the day the royal mages arrive in the village. They come every few years to test children for magical ability. Most kids have nothing. Maybe 1 in 100 has even a spark of power, and of those, most have weak elemental magic that's barely worth training. But the kingdom needs mages desperately. There's a war against the demons in the north, and every person with magical talent gets conscripted into service whether they want to go or not. It's not optional. If you have magic, you belong to the kingdom. The testing happens in the village square. Every child between 12 and 16 has to place their hand on a crystal sphere while the royal examiner channels mana through it. The sphere glows different colors depending on what magic you have. Red for fire, blue for water, green for wind, brown for earth, white for light, black for darkness. Most of the time, the sphere stays clear. No magic, no conscription, normal life. Keyaru watches 15 kids place their hands on the crystal and sees it stay clear every single time. He's starting to hope that maybe he'll be normal too. Maybe he can just stay here on the farm forever. Then it's his turn. He places his hand on the crystal sphere. The examiner, a woman with cold eyes and elaborate robes, channels her mana into the crystal, and the sphere erupts in brilliant green light. Not elemental green, a different kind of green. Pure, radiant, almost holy. The examiner gasps. She checks the crystal 3 more times to be sure. Each time, the same green light. She looks at Keyaru with an expression he can't quite read. It's not happiness or excitement. It's something else. Pity, maybe, or sympathy. She tells him what the green light means. He has healing magic, one of the rarest forms of power in the entire kingdom. One of the most valuable skills in a world where combat injures thousands of soldiers every week. And according to the examiner, one of the most painful abilities a person can possess. Because healing magic doesn't work like other spells. Fire mages throw flames from a distance. Water mages create ice shields. Earth mages reshape stone. But healing magic requires direct contact, physical touch, a connection between the healer and the wounded, and that connection goes both ways. When a healer cures an injury, they don't just close the wound, they experience it. Every cut feels like being cut. Every broken bone feels like it's breaking in their own body. Every burn feels like fire on their own skin. The healer takes the pain and suffering into themselves, processes it, and converts it into healing energy. It's agonizing. Most people with healing magic can't handle it. They use their power once or twice, feel the excruciating pain, and refuse to ever heal anyone again. But the kingdom doesn't care about that. If you have healing magic, you will use it. You don't get a choice. Keyaru's parents are proud at first. Their son has magic. He's special. He'll serve the kingdom and bring honor to their family. But the examiner's expression bothers Keyaru. She doesn't look at him like he's special. She looks at him like she's sorry, like she knows something terrible is about to happen and can't do anything to stop it. Before she leaves the village, she pulls Keyaru aside and tells him 3 words that will haunt him for years. Endure the pain. That's it. That's all the advice she gives him. Endure the pain. As if it's inevitable, as if suffering is just part of being a healer. 3 days later, a military carriage arrives in Renalia. The hero's party has come to collect their new healer, and when Keyaru sees them, he understands why every song and story in the kingdom celebrates these 4 legendary warriors. They're the strongest fighters in the entire realm, the chosen ones, the saviors of humanity. Flair, the hero, is a princess of the royal bloodline with fire magic so devastatingly powerful that she once incinerated an entire demon battalion with a single spell. She's 17 years old, beautiful in that perfect, untouchable way that royalty always seems to be, with bright red hair and eyes like molten gold. She wears enchanted armor that glows with magical energy and carries a sword that bursts into flames when she draws it. Blade is the swordsman, 19 years old and already considered the greatest blade user in 3 generations. He moves so fast in combat that most people can't even see his strikes. Just the aftermath, bodies falling, blood spraying, enemies dead before they realize they've been hit. He's tall and lean with silver hair tied back in a practical ponytail, and he carries 2 swords that he wields simultaneously with perfect coordination. His fighting style is elegant and precise and absolutely lethal. Bullet is the archer, 18 years old with perception so sharp that he can hit a target from a mile away. His arrows never miss, not because of magic, but because of pure skill honed over thousands of hours of training. He has brown hair and calculating eyes that constantly scan his surroundings, and he carries a black composite bow that's been enchanted to increase the velocity of his shots. Watching him shoot is like watching art. He doesn't aim, he just knows where to fire. And then there's Norn, the ice mage, 17 years old and possibly the cruelest of the 4. Her specialty isn't just ice magic, it's psychological warfare, mind games, finding what people fear most and exploiting it. She has long blue hair and a smile that never quite reaches her eyes, and she's developed spells that can freeze not just water, but concepts. She can freeze sound, freeze light, freeze a person's ability to move or think or feel anything except cold. She's brilliant and sadistic, and everyone on the battlefield fears her. These are the 4 heroes who will save humanity from the demon threat, and Keyaru, a 14-year-old farm boy with 0 combat experience, is supposed to keep them alive. They don't introduce themselves properly, don't ask his name, don't welcome him to the party. Flair just looks at him with those golden eyes and tells him exactly what his role will be. Keep us alive. Stay out of the way during combat. Don't ask unnecessary questions. Don't speak unless spoken to. Just heal when we need you and otherwise be invisible. Oh, and one more thing, don't be slow. If you're too slow to heal us, we'll make sure you regret it. Keyaru nods numbly. He doesn't understand what he's agreeing to yet. Doesn't realize that he just accepted a position that's less like being a party member and more like being a slave. The hero's party doesn't view healers as equals or even as people. They view them as tools, medical equipment, bandages with legs, and tools don't need comfort or respect or kindness. They just need to work. The first battle happens 3 days after Keyaru joins the party. They're deployed to the northern territories where demon forces have been raiding human settlements. The demons in this world aren't just monsters. They're an organized military force with their own kingdom, their own culture, their own reasons for fighting. But that doesn't matter to the hero's party. Demons are the enemy. Demons need to die. It's that simple. The battle takes place outside a burning village. 200 demons against the hero's party and a support unit of 50 regular soldiers. Keyaru watches from behind the lines as the 4 heroes engage the demon army. And it's nothing like the stories make it sound. The stories talk about heroic combat, noble warriors fighting for justice, brave defenders protecting the innocent. The reality is carnage. Flare opens with a massive fire spell that incinerates 30 demons in the first 10 seconds. The smell of burning flesh fills the air. Blade rushes into the demon ranks, moving so fast he's almost invisible, and bodies start falling with their throats cut or hearts pierced before they even register that he's there. Bullet stands on a ridge, firing arrow after arrow, each one finding an eye or a throat or a gap in armor, and Norn creates an ice storm that freezes demons solid, then shatters them into pieces when regular soldiers hit the frozen bodies with hammers. It's not a battle, it's a slaughter. The demons don't stand a chance, but they're not running either. They're fighting desperately because this is their land the heroes are invading, their families behind them, their homes to protect. Keyaru watches a demon woman trying to shield 2 smaller demons, probably her children, and Blade cuts all 3 down without hesitation. This isn't war, it's extermination, and the 4 heroes treat it like a game. Flare is laughing as her fire consumes screaming demons. Blade is smiling as his swords dance through flesh. Bullet has this calm, focused expression like he's practicing his aim. Norn looks bored. The battle ends in less than 20 minutes. 200 demons dead. The heroes party victorious. But then Blade takes a hit. One of the dying demons managed to slash his shoulder with a claw before expiring. It's not a deep wound. Blade barely even flinches, but he turns to Keyaru and shouts for healing. The boy runs forward, his hands shaking, places them on Blade's shoulder, and activates his healing magic for the first time in actual combat. The pain is indescribable. Keyaru has heard about how healing magic works, has been told that it transfers injuries, but nothing could have prepared him for this. The sensation of the demon's claw tearing through his own shoulder hits him like lightning. He feels the muscle separating, feels the bone being scraped, feels blood that isn't there pouring down his arm. He screams, can't help it. The agony is so intense that his vision goes white. His healing magic activates instinctively, flooding Blade's wound with energy, closing the injury, regenerating the damaged tissue. The whole process takes maybe 5 seconds. It feels like an eternity. When it's over, Blade's shoulder is perfect, unmarked, like he was never injured at all. The swordsman flexes his arm, nods with satisfaction, and walks away without a single word of thanks or acknowledgement. Meanwhile, Keyaru is on the ground curled in a ball, gasping for air, his shoulder unmarked, but the phantom pain still burning through his nerves like acid. Nobody helps him up, nobody asks if he's okay. Flare just yells at him to get ready because the battle's not over yet. And she's right, there are wounded soldiers from the support unit. 23 men and women with various injuries from the demon attack. Keyaru has to heal all of them. A broken leg that he feels snapping in his own body. A deep stab wound through the abdomen that he experiences as if he's being stabbed himself. Burns across someone's back that make him feel like his own skin is on fire. An arrow through the shoulder, a crushed hand, a gashed throat that's barely not fatal. Each injury he heals, he suffers. Each wound he closes, he experiences. By the time he's finished treating everyone, he's been hurt 24 different ways. His body is fine, physically perfect, but his mind has experienced being stabbed, burned, broken, and nearly killed multiple times in the space of an hour. He vomits on the battlefield. Can't help it. The pain and trauma and horror of experiencing all those injuries has overwhelmed his system. Norn sees this and laughs, calls him weak, says that if he can't handle a few simple healings, then he's useless and should be left behind. Keyaru wants to defend himself, wants to explain that healing isn't simple, that every injury he fixed caused him agony, but he's too exhausted to speak, too broken to argue, so he just stays silent and takes the insult. It's the first day of a pattern that will continue for 3 years. The next 6 months become a blur of battles and pain and humiliation. The hero's party fights demons almost every day, sometimes multiple times a day, and every battle ends the same way. The 4 heroes demolish the enemy with overwhelming power. They take minor injuries because they're not quite invincible, and Keyaru heals them, experiencing every wound, every cut, every burn, every broken bone. The pain never gets easier. If anything, it gets worse because his mind starts anticipating it, dreading it, fearing the moment when someone gets hurt because he knows what's coming. But the physical pain isn't even the worst part. It's the way they treat him. Blade uses him for target practice sometimes, cutting shallow wounds on his arms or legs just to see how fast Keyaru can heal himself. It's training, Blade says, building speed and efficiency. Really, it's just cruelty. Norn experiments with different poisons, injecting them into Keyaru's body to test whether his healing magic can cure various toxins. She keeps detailed notes about which poisons he can heal and which ones make him suffer longer. Bullet doesn't physically abuse Keyaru much, but he's casually dismissive in a way that's almost worse. Acts like Keyaru doesn't exist unless healing is needed. Doesn't learn his name for the first 2 months. Just calls him Healer. And Flare. Flare is the worst because she sets the tone for everyone else. She's the leader. If she treated Keyaru with even basic respect, the others might follow her example, but she doesn't. She treats him like an object, like a healing potion with legs. When he's too slow to heal her after a battle, she punches him hard enough to break his nose. When he asks for a break after healing 17 injuries in a single day, she tells him that tools don't get breaks. When he tries to suggest a better strategy that might reduce injuries, she slaps him across the face and tells him that healers don't think, they just heal. After 3 months of this treatment, Keyaru tries to run away. They're camped near a river and he waits until everyone is asleep, then starts walking. Just picks a direction and goes. He makes it maybe 5 miles before Bullet finds him. The archer doesn't say anything, just shoots an arrow through Keyaru's leg, crippling him, then carries him back to camp. In the morning, Flare uses this escape attempt as justification to implement new rules. Keyaru is now chained at night, can't go anywhere without explicit permission, and as punishment for trying to abandon the party, he doesn't get to eat for 3 days. He's forced to heal people while starving, experiencing their pain on an empty stomach, growing weaker and more delirious with each healing. 6 months into this nightmare, something changes. During a particularly brutal battle against an ogre king who leads a demon warband, Flare takes a catastrophic hit. The ogre's club catches her arm and nearly severs it completely. She's screaming in agony, blood everywhere, the arm hanging by threads of muscle and skin. Everyone in the party panics because if Flare dies, their strongest fighter is gone. Blade and Bullet and Norn kill the Ogre King in seconds, then drag Flare to where Keyaru is waiting. Heal her, they command. Fix it, don't let her die. And Keyaru places his hands on the destroyed arm and activates his healing magic. The pain that floods through him is beyond anything he's experienced before. It's not just the physical trauma of nearly losing an arm, it's the mortal terror, the primal fear of dying, the existential horror of serious injury. All of Flare's emotions come through the healing connection. Her pain, her fear, her rage at being hurt. It pours into Keyaru's mind like a flood. But something else comes through too. Memories. Flare's memories. He sees her childhood in the royal palace, her early magic training, her first kill, her coronation as hero. And he sees something else, something impossible. He sees the structure of her fire magic, the way her mana flows through specific pathways in her body, the mental visualization she uses to shape flames, the techniques and shortcuts and secrets that make her so devastatingly powerful. All of it downloaded directly into his mind through the healing connection. When the healing is complete and Flare's arm is perfectly restored, Keyaru collapses. The pain of healing such a severe injury has left him barely conscious, but his mind is racing. He learned her magic, her actual combat magic. By healing her, by connecting to her body and mind so deeply, he absorbed her knowledge like a sponge soaking up water. This shouldn't be possible. Healing magic doesn't grant you the abilities of the people you heal. That's not how it works. But apparently it is how it works if you push deep enough, if the connection is strong enough, if the healer is desperate enough and focused enough and willing to endure enough agony to truly merge with the patient for those brief moments. Keyaru doesn't tell anyone about this discovery, keeps it absolutely secret, because if the hero's party knows that healing them also lets him steal their skills, they'll either kill him or find a way to block the knowledge transfer. But as long as they think he's just a pathetic healer with no other abilities, they'll keep letting him touch them, keep letting him form those healing connections, keep unknowingly teaching him everything they know. Over the next 6 months, Keyaru becomes a thief. Every time he heals Blade, he steals sword techniques that took the swordsman 15 years to master. He learns footwork, strike patterns, defensive positions, counterattacks. When he heals Bullet, he absorbs archery knowledge, how to calculate wind resistance and distance and arrow drop, how to track moving targets, how to breathe and focus and shoot with perfect accuracy. When he heals Norn, he learns ice magic theory and the psychological tactics she uses to break enemies' minds. And when he heals Flare again and again, he collects more fire magic, more combat strategy, more of everything that makes her the legendary hero. At night, when the others sleep, Keyaru practices in secret. He can't train physically because he's too weak from constant healing and malnourishment, but he can practice mentally, visualize the sword forms, imagine casting the spells, run through the techniques in his mind until they become second nature. And once in a while, when he has enough energy and privacy, he actually tries them out. Late at night by a river, he creates a small flame using Flare's technique. The first time fire appears in his palm, he almost cries with joy. He's not just a healer anymore, he's becoming something else. 1 year into his service, Keyaru makes another crucial discovery. He's healing an injured civilian after a battle, an old woman who was caught in crossfire and took a bad chest wound. As he heals her, he notices something. Her life force is fading, not because of the injury, but because of age. Her cells are degraded, her organs are wearing out, she's dying slowly from the accumulated damage of living. And Keyaru realizes that if he can heal combat injuries, maybe he can heal this too. He pushes more energy into her, not just closing the wound, but actually healing her at a cellular level, repairing the age damage, rejuvenating tired organs, refreshing exhausted tissue. When he's done, the old woman looks 10 years younger. Her wrinkles have faded slightly, her eyes are clearer, her breathing is stronger, she feels better than she has in decades, and Keyaru understands what this means. Healing magic doesn't just fix injuries, it can reverse any kind of damage, including the slow degradation of aging, including death itself, potentially, if he's fast enough and skilled enough. He starts testing this theory on himself. After particularly brutal days where the hero's party has used him as a punching bag or a test subject, Keyaru doesn't just heal his fresh wounds, he heals everything. The cumulative damage from a year of abuse, the malnutrition from being fed barely enough to survive, the exhaustion from never getting proper rest, the mental trauma from constant pain. He pushes his healing magic deeper than it's supposed to go, targeting not just injuries, but cellular damage, nerve damage, psychological damage, and it works. His body starts recovering, getting stronger. His mind becomes sharper, more focused, more resilient. This becomes his secret routine. By day, he plays the role of the weak, pathetic healer, flinching when they yell, crying when they hit him, stumbling when he's exhausted, completely subservient and broken. But by night, he hunts. He sneaks away from camp when possible and finds monsters in the forest, kills them using the techniques he's stolen: Blade's sword work, Norn's ice magic, Bullet's precision. He's getting stronger while looking weaker, building power while maintaining the appearance of helplessness. The abuse continues to escalate. Norn gets more creative with her experiments, testing increasingly dangerous poisons and curses on Keyaru just to see if his healing can handle them. Blade starts practicing lethal strikes on Keyaru's body, cutting him in places that would kill a normal person, forcing the healer to cure fatal wounds so Blade can study the regeneration process. Flare uses Keyaru for stress relief after difficult battles, beating him when she's frustrated, burning him with small flames when she's angry, treating him like a stress ball that happens to be human. 2 years into this nightmare, Keyaru has become something unique. He has the combat knowledge of 4 of the most powerful warriors on the continent. He has healing abilities that far exceed normal limits, and he has motivation, pure, burning, absolute motivation. Every beating he endures fuels his determination. Every humiliation strengthens his resolve. Every moment of pain becomes another reason why he will eventually make them all suffer. The breaking point comes during a mission in a demon city. The hero's party is ordered to eliminate a demon general and his family. They attack at night, slaughter everyone in the compound, soldiers, servants, even children. Keyaru is forced to watch, forced to stand there while Blade cuts down demon kids who are barely old enough to walk, while Flare burns a demon mother who's trying to shield her infant, while Norn freezes a wounded demon soldier and shatters him like glass just for fun. And when it's over, when everyone is dead, Flare turns to Keyaru and tells him this is justice. This is what heroes do. Eliminate the enemy completely so they can never threaten humanity again. That night, Keyaru makes a decision. He's going to kill them. All 4 of them. Not just escape, not just survive. Kill them. Make them suffer the way they made him suffer. Use every technique they taught him through their abuse and turn it back on them. He doesn't know how yet. They're too strong. Even with all the skills he's stolen, he's still physically weak from 2 years of malnutrition and torture. But he'll find a way. He has to. 6 months later, the opportunity comes. The hero's party receives their ultimate mission: kill the Demon King, end the war, save humanity. It's the climax of everything they've been working toward. 10,000 soldiers march to support the assault on the Demon King's castle. The battle is apocalyptic. Demons pour out like a flood. The hero's party cuts through them with overwhelming power. Keyaru heals them constantly, stealing more skills, more knowledge, more power with every healing touch. By the time they reach the Demon King's throne room, Keyaru has the combat experience of hundreds of warriors compressed into his mind. The Demon King is terrifying. 12 feet tall, covered in armor made from condensed shadows. He wields a sword coated in a poison that doesn't just kill the body but destroys the soul. One cut means permanent death. No resurrection, no healing, just oblivion. The hero's party engages him together. Flare's fire barely scratches his armor. Blade's swords chip against his defenses. Bullet's arrows bounce off harmlessly. Norn's ice magic melts before reaching him. They're outmatched. For the first time in their careers, the legendary hero's party is losing. The Demon King is about to kill Flare, his poisoned blade aimed at her heart, when Keyaru does something that shocks everyone. He steps forward, positions himself between Flare and the demon. The heroes are screaming at him to move, to get out of the way, to stop being stupid. But Keyaru doesn't move. Instead, he raises his hand and casts fire magic. Flare's fire magic. A massive column of flame erupts from his palm with power that matches the hero's own spells. The Demon King is forced back. Everyone stares. The pathetic healer just used combat magic. That's impossible. Keyaru doesn't stop there. He creates an ice sword using Norn's technique and charges with Blade's footwork. His strikes are perfect, precise, every movement optimized. He finds gaps in the Demon King's armor that the others missed, draws black blood. The demon roars in surprise and anger, refocusing entirely on this new threat. What follows is a battle that nobody watching will ever forget. Keyaru uses every technique he's stolen over 2.5 years: fire and ice and sword and bow, all flowing together in a combat style that's uniquely his own because it's a fusion of 4 different masters' techniques. The Demon King is faster and stronger and has centuries of combat experience. But Keyaru has something else. He has 2.5 years of absolute hatred compressed into every strike. When the Demon King finally lands a hit, plunging his poison blade deep into Keyaru's chest, everyone thinks the healer is dead. The soul-destroying poison should kill instantly, should erase him from existence. But Keyaru just laughs, blood pouring from his chest, vision fading. He reaches down and heals himself. Not just the wound, he heals the poison itself. Breaks it down at a molecular level, analyzes its structure, converts it into harmless components, flushes it from his system. Then he heals beyond that, accelerates his own cellular regeneration, makes his body adapt to the poison, evolve to resist it. He's not just surviving, he's getting stronger from being hurt. The battle ends with Keyaru's hand buried in the Demon King's chest. He uses a technique he invented himself by combining healing magic with destruction. He reaches into the demon's body and heals his heart. But he heals it wrong, makes the cells multiply uncontrollably, turning the heart into a cancerous mass, into a tumor, into useless tissue. The Demon King, the supposedly unkillable demon lord, dies not from a wound, but from his own body betraying him. Killed by healing magic weaponized in a way nobody thought possible. If you're completely hooked by this insane revenge story and wondering how the hero's party reacts to their healer killing the final boss, smash that like button right now and make sure you're subscribed because this story gets even more brutal from here. The heroes just watched the boy they tortured for years prove that he's stronger than all of them. Their reaction is not what you'd expect. Let's continue. The kingdom erupts in celebration. The demon war is over. The final boss is dead. Humanity is saved. The heroes' party returns to the capital as living legends. There's a parade that lasts for 3 days. Hundreds of thousands of people line the streets, throwing flowers, chanting their names, worshiping them as the saviors of civilization. Flare stands on a golden platform being carried through the city. Blade and Bullet and Norn wave to the crowds, and Keyaru walks behind them, chained like always, completely unnoticed and unacknowledged, because the official story doesn't mention him. According to the royal historians and the songs that are already being written, the great hero Flare struck the final blow against the Demon King. The kingdom's Princess Hero defeated the ultimate evil through her legendary fire magic and tactical brilliance. Keyaru's contribution is erased, edited out, removed from history. He doesn't exist in the narrative of humanity's greatest victory. He's just a footnote, the healer who served the hero's party, nothing more. Nobody even knows his name. That night, there's an enormous banquet at the royal palace. The king himself presides over the celebration. He gives golden medals to Flare and her companions, declares them heroes of the realm, grants them lands and titles and treasure. The greatest feast in the kingdom's history is prepared. Musicians play, nobles toast, everyone celebrates the end of the war. Keyaru isn't invited to any of it. He's in the servants' quarters eating stale bread and water. He doesn't even care anymore. He's so used to being treated as less than human that exclusion from a party feels completely normal. Then Norn finds him. She's smiling that smile that never reaches her eyes. She tells him that his service to the hero's party is officially over. The demon war has been won. The party is being disbanded. The 4 heroes are retiring to their new estates, and Keyaru is free to go. No more conscription, no more battles, no more healing. He can return to his village or start a new life somewhere or do whatever he wants. For the first time in 2.5 years, he's actually free. Keyaru feels something he hasn't felt in so long, he almost doesn't recognize it. Hope. Norn hands him a drink, calls it a celebration toast. One last drink between party members before they go their separate ways. Keyaru is so tired, so emotionally drained, so desperately wanting to believe that this nightmare is actually over, that he doesn't think clearly, doesn't consider that this might be a trap, doesn't question why Norn would be kind to him now after years of cruelty. He just takes the drink and swallows it. The poison hits his system instantly. His vision blurs, his limbs go numb. He tries to heal himself, but his healing magic won't respond. Norn has used a specialized poison designed specifically to block healing abilities. She developed it during her experiments on Keyaru, tested it on him dozens of times, knows exactly the dose that will paralyze him without killing him. The irony crashes over Keyaru as he collapses. She learned this from torturing him, and now she's using it on him. He tries to speak, to ask why, but his voice won't work either. Norn just stands over him, still smiling, and explains. They've been studying him for 2.5 years. The hero's party noticed that he was getting stronger despite never training. They saw that he was learning their techniques despite having no formal instruction. The royal mages were consulted, they did research, they figured out what healing magic can really do, that deep healing creates a mental connection, that skilled healers can steal knowledge and abilities from the people they cure. And now that the war is over, now that they don't need Keyaru's healing anymore, they can't let him go free. He knows too much. He's too powerful. He's too dangerous. So instead of freedom, he gets something else. Keyaru wakes up in a dungeon, not a prison cell, a research laboratory. He's strapped to a metal table in a room filled with medical equipment and arcane devices. Flare is there. Norn is there. A dozen royal mages in white coats are there. They explain what's going to happen. They're going to study his healing ability, figure out how it works, learn to replicate it, and then they're going to extract it from him and give it to someone more deserving, someone loyal, someone who won't threaten the kingdom's power structure. What follows is 6 months of systematic torture disguised as medical research. The mages cut Keyaru open to watch how his healing regenerates tissue. They break his bones in specific ways to study the repair process. They inject him with poisons and diseases and curses to test the limits of his abilities. They damage his organs one at a time and document how long it takes each one to heal. Norn is particularly involved in this process. She designs experiments specifically calibrated to cause maximum pain while keeping Keyaru conscious and aware. She's developed a precise understanding of suffering through years of practice. Keyaru heals himself after each session because that's what they want. They need him to demonstrate his healing so they can analyze it, study it, steal it. Every day follows the same pattern. Torture, heal, document, repeat. His magic is constantly active, constantly burning through his energy, constantly forcing him to experience the agony of fixing catastrophic injuries. He's trapped in a cycle of pain and healing with no escape and no end in sight. During these 6 months, Keyaru's mind starts to fracture. The constant agony and the helplessness and the knowledge that this will continue forever breaks something inside him. He starts hallucinating, seeing things that aren't there, hearing voices, losing track of time. Days blend together into an endless nightmare of suffering. But somewhere in that breaking mind, something else starts to form. A theory, an impossible idea. If healing magic can reverse physical damage, and if he's pushed it to reverse cellular aging, and if it operates by manipulating life energy at a fundamental level, then maybe it can do more. Maybe it can heal concepts, time itself, reality. The breakthrough happens during an experiment that goes too far. The mages are studying his brain function. They've cut into his skull and are physically manipulating his frontal lobe while he's conscious. The pain is beyond anything Keyaru has ever experienced, beyond physical agony, beyond mental torture. It's existential, a violation of everything that makes him human. His mind shatters completely, and in that moment of absolute destruction, his healing magic surges in a way it never has before. Instead of healing his brain tissue, it heals his timeline, his personal history. The magic reaches backward, targeting not physical wounds, but temporal ones, the damage done to his past self. His younger self, the innocent 14-year-old boy who hadn't yet been broken by years of abuse. Keyaru's magic connects to that past version of himself and pulls, drags his consciousness backward through time, heals the gap between his broken present and his untouched past. There's a flash of blinding white light and sensation of falling through infinite space, then nothing. When Keyaru opens his eyes, he's standing in the village square in Renalia. The royal examiner is preparing the crystal sphere for magic testing. His parents are waiting nearby, looking nervous and proud. His sister is holding his hand for good luck. He's 14 years old again. His body is small and weak and untouched by the scars of torture. But his mind contains everything. 2.5 years of combat knowledge stolen from the hero's party, 6 months of torture in the laboratory, the memory of killing the Demon King, the understanding of healing magic that goes far beyond anything that should be possible. He's traveled back in time, healed his own past, been given a second chance, and this time he knows exactly what's coming, knows exactly who will hurt him, knows exactly how powerful he needs to become to prevent it, knows exactly what he's going to do to everyone who caused him suffering. The magic test proceeds normally at first. Keyaru places his hand on the crystal sphere. The examiner channels her mana. The sphere glows green. Healing magic detected. She looks at him with that same pitying expression and opens her mouth to explain what this means. But before she can speak, Keyaru activates Norn's ice magic. The examiner freezes solid instantly, encased in ice from head to toe, eyes wide with shock. Then Keyaru uses Flare's fire magic and superheats the ice. The examiner doesn't just thaw, she melts. Her body converts from frozen solid to boiling liquid to vapor in seconds. There's a brief scream that cuts off almost immediately, then just a pile of ash where the royal mage used to stand. The villagers stare in absolute horror. The quiet farm boy they've known for 14 years just murdered a royal official using magic he supposedly doesn't have. Keyaru's parents are backing away, fear in their eyes. His sister is crying. The other villagers are reaching for farming tools to use as weapons. Someone yells for guards, but there are no guards in this tiny village, nobody who can stop him. Keyaru looks at his parents one last time, memorizes their faces. He knows he'll never see them again. This village was never really his home anyway, just the place he happened to be born, the place that was happy to hand him over to the kingdom when they discovered his magic. He turns and walks away, out of the village square, down the main road, past the farms, into the forest. Nobody tries to stop him. They're too terrified, too shocked, too unprepared for this sudden violence. Keyaru doesn't look back, doesn't say goodbye, just disappears into the trees and leaves his old life behind forever. He has a new plan now, a better plan. If healing magic can manipulate life and death and time itself, if he has knowledge from a future that hasn't happened yet, then he's going to use those advantages to completely rebuild the world, starting with revenge. His first target is a bandit camp he remembers from the original timeline. 30 career criminals who operate out of a cave complex 15 miles from his village. They raid merchants and farmers, take what they want, kill anyone who resists. In the original timeline, the hero's party wiped them out during a training exercise. But this time, Keyaru gets there first. He walks into their camp alone, a skinny 14-year-old boy with no weapons and no armor. The bandits see him and start laughing. Easy prey, a kid who wandered too far from home. They're already arguing about whether to ransom him or just just rob him and dump the body. The laughter stops when Keyaru kills the first 5 in less than 10 seconds. He moves with Blade's footwork, strikes with Blade's precision, uses ice magic to create weapons mid-combat. The bandits barely have time to draw their own swords before they're dead. Throats cut, hearts pierced, heads removed. The remaining 25 bandits panic and attack all at once. It doesn't matter. Keyaru cuts through them like they're made of paper. Every technique he stole, every skill he absorbed, every lesson he learned from healing the greatest warriors on the continent, all of it unleashed on these unprepared criminals. In 5 minutes, 30 corpses litter the bandit camp. Keyaru stands among them, breathing hard, covered in blood that isn't his own. His body is exhausted. He's still physically weak, despite his skill, but he's proven something important. He can fight, he can kill. He's not the helpless healer anymore. Then he does something that nobody in this world has ever done before. He heals the dead. He starts with the nearest corpse, a bandit who died maybe 30 seconds ago from an ice spear through the chest. Keyaru places his hands on the body and pushes his healing magic into the cooling flesh. He targets the death itself, the moment when life stopped, the cellular shutdown, the electrical failure in the brain. He forces the heart to beat again, pumps oxygen back into the tissues, repairs the fatal damage, jumpstarts the systems that failed, and slowly, impossibly, the bandit gasps back to life. Except it's not really life, not completely. When you die, something leaves. The soul, the self, the spark of consciousness that makes you a person and not just a biological machine. When Keyaru brings the bandit back, that part doesn't return. The body is alive, the heart beats, the lungs breathe, but the eyes are empty. No personality, no will, no resistance. The resurrected bandit just sits there, staring at nothing, waiting for commands that his dead mind can no longer question. Keyaru tests this, orders the bandit to stand. He stands, orders him to walk. He walks, orders him to punch himself in the face. He does it without hesitation, without pain, without any sign of self-preservation. They're not zombies. They're alive, technically, but they're completely obedient, completely loyal, completely without will, perfect soldiers. Over the next hour, Keyaru resurrects all 30 bandits. Some take longer than others. Bodies that have been dead for several minutes are harder to revive. But his healing magic is strong enough. Eventually, 30 living corpses stand before him, awaiting orders. Keyaru tells them to follow him. They do. He tells them to practice fighting each other. They do. Attacking and defending with perfect obedience, but no self-direction. He tells one to cut off his own finger. The bandit does it without hesitation. Keyaru heals the finger back on. Perfect control. This is the foundation of his army. 30 criminals who hurt people and are now dead and resurrected as mindless soldiers. Keyaru doesn't feel guilty about this. These were bad people. The world is better off with them serving a purpose instead of terrorizing innocents. Over the next 6 months, he builds his force methodically, attacks other bandit camps, mercenary groups who operate without morals, criminal organizations that extort and murder. Every group he eliminates, he resurrects. His army grows, 50 soldiers, then 100, then 200. He also practices with his abilities during this time. The first resurrections were crude. The soldiers came back empty and mechanical, but Keyaru is learning to refine the process. He can bring people back with more of their original skills intact. A warrior returns with their combat instincts preserved. A mage can still cast spells, though only when commanded. He's getting better at this, more precise, more powerful. Word spreads about a mysterious boy who commands an army of the dead. Villagers whisper about seeing corpses walking. Merchants report being protected from bandits by empty-eyed soldiers who appear from nowhere. The kingdom sends investigators to look into these rumors. A unit of 50 royal guards tracks Keyaru to a forest clearing. They find him sitting alone by a campfire, looking like any other young traveler. The captain demands his surrender, demands he answer questions about magic and resurrection and the disappearing bandits. Keyaru asks a simple question in response: "How many of you want to die?" The captain thinks it's a threat. It's not. It's an honest question, because Keyaru is going to kill all of them anyway. The only variable is whether they'll stay dead. The battle is over in minutes. 50 trained soldiers with military discipline and coordinated tactics against a 14-year-old boy. They never stood a chance. Keyaru uses every technique in his arsenal. Blade's sword work creates openings. Norn's ice magic controls the battlefield. Flair's fire keeps them at a distance. Bullet's precision strikes vital points. He moves through them like a ghost, each strike instantly lethal, each spell perfectly aimed. When the last guard falls with an ice spear through his eye, Keyaru stands alone among the corpses. Then he brings them all back, 50 royal guards now serving him. He sends them back to the kingdom with a message carved into the captain's armor. Tell the king that Keyaru the healer is coming. Tell him that healing magic isn't weak. Tell him that the boy he let his heroes torture for 2.5 years is bringing an army. Tell him to prepare. The kingdom responds with overwhelming force. 500 soldiers march to eliminate this threat before it grows larger. They meet Keyaru's force of 300 resurrected fighters in an open field. The royal army has superior numbers, better equipment, formal training, and the righteousness of defending their homeland. Keyaru's army has something else. They don't feel pain. They don't feel fear. They don't stop when injured. A soldier cuts off a resurrected bandit's arm. The bandit doesn't even slow down, just stabs the soldier with his remaining hand. A spear goes through a resurrected guard's chest. He pulls it out and keeps fighting. Arrows pierce, swords slash, fire burns. None of it matters. The dead don't care about being hurt. And every time one of Keyaru's soldiers actually falls, defeated thoroughly enough that the body stops functioning, Keyaru simply resurrects them again. He stands on a hill watching the battle, and his healing magic reaches across the battlefield, bringing back fighters as fast as they drop. The royal army watches in horror as enemies they just killed stand back up and rejoin the fight. You can't win against an opponent that won't stay dead. The royal soldiers break, some flee, some surrender, some fight to the death out of sheer desperation. By the end, 400 royal soldiers are dead on the field. Keyaru resurrects every single one. His army is now 700 strong. He marches toward the capital. The news reaches the king within hours. A boy with an army of undead is coming. He's already defeated 500 royal guards. He's unstoppable, and he's sent a message saying he's coming for revenge. The king panics and does the only thing that might work. He recalls the hero's party. Flair, Blade, Bullet, and Norn are brought out of their comfortable retirements, told about this threat, shown witness reports describing the enemy commander. Young, thin, uses fire and ice and sword and bow, claims his name is Keyaru. Flair laughs. She remembers Keyaru as the pathetic healer from her original party, weak, broken, subservient. The idea that this is the same person is ridiculous. But she doesn't know about the time travel, doesn't know this is a different timeline. In her memory, Keyaru is still chained in a laboratory being dissected by royal mages. She has no idea what's actually coming for her. The hero's party mobilizes with absolute confidence. 4 legendary warriors against some upstart pretender with an army of corpses. They meet Keyaru's force 20 miles from the capital, choosing an open battlefield to maximize their advantage. 4 heroes against 700 undead soldiers. The battle begins with Flair's ultimate fire spell. She incinerates the first wave with flames so intense they turn sand to glass. 200 soldiers reduced to ash in seconds. The heroes' party stands triumphant in the center of their own inferno, protected by Norn's ice barrier. They think they've won the battle before it even started. Then the ash begins to move. Keyaru isn't just healing death anymore. He's healing beyond death. Beyond physical destruction. He's pulling the soldiers back from ash, from vapor, from the very idea of non-existence. Their bodies reform molecule by molecule. Bone grows from nothing. Flesh wraps around skeleton. Skin covers muscle. 200 charred corpses rise from the scorched earth, their bodies regenerating even as they stand. Flair watches in absolute horror as her most powerful attack is completely negated. She just used enough fire to level a city block. Keyaru undid it all with healing magic. The battle becomes desperate. Blade charges through the undead army, trying to reach Keyaru directly, cutting down dozens of soldiers with his legendary speed, but they just keep coming back. Bullet fires arrow after arrow with perfect accuracy, aiming for Keyaru specifically, but the undead throw themselves in front of every shot, forming a wall of expendable bodies. Norn tries freezing Keyaru directly, launching ice spears at the boy standing calmly behind his army. The The undead intercept every attack, die, resurrect, repeat. The hero's party realizes with growing panic that they're not fighting 700 soldiers. They're fighting one healer. Every corpse on the battlefield is just an extension of Keyaru's power, a puppet controlled by healing magic turned into something dark and unstoppable. They start burning through their energy reserves trying to kill the army, trying to overwhelm the resurrection. But Keyaru is healing faster than they can kill. For every soldier they destroy, 2 more take its place. Not because there are more soldiers, because the same ones keep coming back. Flare makes a desperate decision. If fire doesn't work, she'll try something else. She uses a forbidden technique, a spell so dangerous it's banned in the kingdom. She sacrifices her own life force to create an attack that will disintegrate everything in a half-mile radius, including her own allies if necessary. The temperature rises to levels that melt steel. The air itself ignites. Everything burns. The undead army burns. The ground burns. Reality itself seems to burn under the intensity of this spell. When the flames finally die down, there's nothing left but scorched earth and ash. Even bones have been vaporized. The hero's party stands alone, protected by Norn's desperate shield. They've won, at a terrible cost, but they've won. Then they see Keyaru still standing. His body is charred and smoking. His skin is burned away in places, showing muscle underneath. His eyes are melted in their sockets. He looks like a corpse, but he's healing. His body regenerates in real time. New skin growing over muscle, eyes reforming, bones strengthening. And as he heals himself, he heals the army too. 700 soldiers rise from ash and vapor and nothingness. Keyaru has gone beyond healing death. He's healing the concept of mortality itself, making death temporary, making destruction reversible, turning the battlefield into a place where nothing can permanently end. Flare's confidence breaks completely. She realizes she can't win this way, can't overpower him, can't outlast him, so she tries something different. She charges at Keyaru directly, sword wreathed in flames, intending to kill the healer in close combat. If she can cut off his head fast enough, maybe he won't be able to heal before dying. Maybe she never reaches him. Keyaru meets her charge with a counterattack that mirrors her own fighting style perfectly, because he learned it from her. Spent 2.5 years healing her and absorbing her techniques. He knows every move she'll make before she makes it. Every strike she throws, he blocks with techniques she taught him. Every spell she casts, he counters with her own magic. It's like fighting a mirror, a perfected version of herself. And she realizes with growing horror that the healer is better at her own combat style than she is. Blade tries to help, attacking from Keyaru's blind side, but Keyaru uses Blade's own technique against him, the spinning counter-strike that Blade invented and perfected over 15 years. Except Keyaru's version is faster, sharper, more efficient. The swordsman's own signature move is turned against him, cutting through his defenses, drawing blood. Bullet fires from extreme range, trying to snipe Keyaru while he's distracted, but Keyaru catches the arrow mid-flight using the same perception Bullet taught him and throws it back harder, faster, with better aim. The arrow punches through Bullet's shoulder, pinning him to a tree. Norn is the only one who understands what's happening. She's studied healing magic. She knows about the knowledge transfer. She realizes that Keyaru has been stealing their skills for years. Everything they know, he knows. Everything they can do, he can do better, because he learned from multiple masters instead of specializing. She tries to warn the others, but it's too late. Keyaru is already moving. He uses a combination technique that shouldn't exist. Blade's footwork, Flare's fire magic, Norn's ice manipulation, Bullet's precision, all flowing together in a combat style that's beyond anything the world has seen. He's moving through the hero's party like death incarnate, cutting, burning, freezing, dodging, every attack perfectly placed, every defense perfectly timed. They're the legendary heroes who saved humanity, and a 14-year-old healer is destroying them. The fight ends with all 4 heroes on the ground, bleeding, broken, but alive. Keyaru stands over them, barely winded. Flare is screaming at him, demanding to know how this is possible, how a pathetic healer became stronger than the greatest heroes in the kingdom. Keyaru smiles, that same broken smile from 6 months of torture in a laboratory, and he tells her everything. He explains the original timeline, how they tortured him for 2.5 years, how he killed the Demon King while they watched, how they locked him in a dungeon and dissected him for 6 months, how he learned to heal time itself and travel back to this moment, how everything she remembers is about to happen to her in a future she'll never live to see. Because this time, he's in control. This time, she's the victim. Flare doesn't believe him, calls him insane, but then Keyaru starts reciting things he shouldn't know, private conversations the hero's party had when he wasn't there. Secret fears they never shared, hidden shames they thought were buried, all things he learned through healing connections, through absorbing their memories, through becoming intimately familiar with their minds during 2.5 years of abuse. The hero's faces drain of color as they realize he's telling the truth. Somehow, impossible as it sounds, he really does remember a future that hasn't happened yet. Keyaru gives them a choice. Join his army willingly, retaining some autonomy and personality, or join as corpses, empty and obedient. Blade chooses to fight, tries to stand up and attack despite his injuries. Keyaru cuts his throat in response. A quick, efficient strike. Blade dies with surprise in his eyes. Then Keyaru heals him back, brings him across the barrier of death, and returns him to life. Except Blade doesn't come back the same. His eyes are empty now. His will is gone. He's just another puppet. Another soldier in the army of the undead. Bullet sees this and tries to run, tries to escape while Keyaru is distracted. He makes it maybe 20 feet before an ice spear punches through his spine, severing his connection to his legs. He collapses, paralyzed, screaming. Keyaru walks over calmly and heals him. Not the spinal injury, just brings him back from the edge of death, then kills him properly, then resurrects him as another empty soldier. Norn is smarter. She surrenders immediately, begs for mercy, promises to serve loyally, says she'll do anything if he lets her keep her mind. Keyaru considers this, then rejects it. Because Norn was the worst of them in the original timeline, she was the one who designed the torture schedule, who calibrated the pain, who found joy in suffering. She doesn't get mercy, she gets exactly what she deserves. Keyaru kills her slowly, using every poison she tested on him in the original timeline. Makes her experience every torture she inflicted. Only when she's begging for death does he grant it, then brings her back as another hollow puppet. That leaves Flare, the hero, the princess, the legendary warrior who saved humanity. Keyaru doesn't kill her, not yet. Instead, he does something worse. He heals her, uses his healing magic to force a connection with her mind, and through that connection, he makes her experience every moment of pain she caused him in the original timeline. 2.5 years of beatings compressed into 2.5 minutes of pure agony. Every punch, every kick, every burn, every casual cruelty. She feels all of it at once, her mind breaking under the weight of accumulated suffering. Then he shows her the 6 months in the laboratory, the dissections, the experiments, the systematic destruction of his humanity. All of it downloaded into her consciousness in excruciating detail. When the mental assault ends, Flare is destroyed. She's not screaming anymore, not crying, not fighting. She just kneels in the dirt, staring at nothing, completely broken. Keyaru asks what she wants, what she has left to live for. Flare doesn't answer for a long time. When she finally speaks, her voice is barely a whisper. She asks him to kill her, begs for death, says she can't live with what she's seen, what she's done, what she's become. Keyaru refuses. Death is mercy. She doesn't get mercy. Instead, she gets to serve. Gets to watch as he uses the power she mocked to rebuild the entire world. Gets to see healing magic become the strongest force on the continent. Gets to witness everything she believed proven wrong. He doesn't kill her, he just makes her his servant. Alive, aware, absolutely obedient, but forced to watch and understand everything that happened. Real quick before we see how Keyaru conquers the entire kingdom and establishes a new world order, if you're absolutely captivated by this brutal revenge story and want to see how it ends, smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed for more epic recaps every week, and comment below whether you think Keyaru is a hero or a villain at this point, because honestly, he might be both. Now let's finish this incredible tale. Keyaru marches his army to the capital with the hero's party at the front. Flare leads the way, still wearing her hero's armor, still carrying her legendary sword, but her eyes are dead and empty. The city guards see their greatest heroes approaching and open the gates without question. Why wouldn't they? The hero's party protects the kingdom. They've never been a threat. By the time the guards realize something is wrong, Keyaru's undead army is inside the walls. The battle for the capital lasts 6 hours. 10,000 royal soldiers and city guards against Keyaru's force of 800 resurrected fighters. The defenders have overwhelming numbers, better defensive positions, home territory advantage, but the undead have something else. They don't retreat, they don't surrender, they don't stop when injured. You can cut them in half and both halves will keep crawling towards you. You can burn them and they'll reform from ash. You can crush them and their pulverized remains will coalesce back into soldiers. It's not a battle, it's an inevitability. The living army slowly realizes that they're not fighting humans. They're fighting the concept of an unstoppable force given physical form. The king surrenders when Keyaru's soldiers reach the throne room. The old monarch is terrified, offering Keyaru everything he can think of: money, land, titles, noble marriages, political power, anything to spare the royal family and maintain some semblance of the kingdom's structure. Keyaru listens to this desperate bargaining and accepts, takes everything offered: the crown, the kingdom, the authority, but he doesn't spare the king's life, not through death, through something worse. He heals the king, removes every disease, every ailment, every sign of aging, reverses the old man's deterioration and makes him young and healthy and vibrant again. The king is confused at first, thinks this is mercy. Then Keyaru explains what comes next. The former king will work in the kingdom's salt mines as a laborer, will spend the next 40 or 50 years in perfect health performing backbreaking work in horrible conditions. Will experience what it's like to be powerless and used and treated as less than human. And because Keyaru's healing has made him young and healthy, he'll live long enough to truly understand that lesson. It's mercy that feels like torture, kindness that's actually cruelty. Keyaru establishes a new order immediately. His undead army becomes the core of the kingdom's military. They don't need food, sleep, or pay. They don't complain about conditions or demand better treatment. They're perfect soldiers for peacetime garrison duty and border security. The living citizens are terrified at first. Having corpses walking through the streets is disturbing. But Keyaru proves to be an effective ruler in unexpected ways. He uses his healing magic on civilians. Traveling through the kingdom, he cures diseases that were previously considered incurable, fixes injuries that would have crippled people for life, restores sight to the blind, heals the deaf, regrows lost limbs, makes healthcare free and universal and available to everyone regardless of social status. Not out of kindness, out of practicality. Healthy citizens are more productive, more useful, more capable of building the kingdom he envisions. The economy transforms within months. With disease virtually eliminated and a tireless undead workforce handling the most dangerous and unpleasant jobs, the kingdom prospers like never before. Productivity skyrockets, trade increases, infrastructure improves. Other nations send ambassadors, curious about how this new young king achieved such rapid development. Keyaru tells them the truth without embellishment. He killed everyone who opposed him and brought them back as obedient servants. Most ambassadors leave quickly after that revelation. A few stay, propose alliances. They're willing to overlook the undead army if it means access to Keyaru's unprecedented healing abilities. 5 years pass. The kingdom has become the most powerful and prosperous nation on the continent, not through military conquest, though Keyaru could easily manage that with his unkillable army. Through simple superiority, his people are healthier, wealthier, and more secure than citizens of any other nation. Immigration becomes a problem because too many people from other kingdoms want to move here. The undead army never has to fight because no neighboring nation is stupid enough to attack. You can't win a war against an enemy whose soldiers literally cannot stay dead. During these 5 years, something unexpected happens to Keyaru. He starts having dreams about the people he killed and resurrected. Not nightmares exactly, just dreams. He sees their faces before death, remembers who they were. The bandits he resurrected first, some of them had families. Children who are now orphans, some were just desperate people trying to survive in a harsh world. The royal guards he killed, they were following orders, protecting their kingdom from what they legitimately saw as a threat. Even the hero's party were products of their environment, trained from childhood to see healers as lesser beings, tools rather than people. Keyaru starts to wonder if there's more he can do. He's been using resurrection magic for 5 years now. He's gotten incredibly skilled at it. He can bring back bodies that have been dead for hours, can reconstruct corpses from minimal remains, can resurrect hundreds of soldiers simultaneously. But one thing has always bothered him: When people come back, they come back empty. The body lives, but the person is gone. That spark of consciousness, of self, of whatever makes someone truly alive rather than just biologically functional, it doesn't return. Can he fix that? He starts experimenting with a new technique. If he can heal physical damage, and if he can heal time, and if he can manipulate life energy at such a fundamental level, maybe he can restore what death takes. Maybe he can heal not just the body, but the soul. He tries it on one of his undead soldiers, a former bandit named Kuroha, who he remembers had a young daughter. Keyaru pours healing magic into the man for 3 days straight, not healing his living body, but healing the gap where his personality used to be, trying to pull back the self that left when he died. It's the most difficult healing Keyaru has ever attempted, more draining than curing death, more complex than reversing time. He doesn't sleep or eat for 72 hours, just focuses everything he has on restoring what death stole. On the 3rd day, something changes. Kureha's empty eyes suddenly focus. His blank expression shifts to confusion, then comprehension, then absolute horror. He's alive, really alive, actually himself again. He remembers dying, remembers being empty for 5 years, walking and fighting and existing without will or thought or feeling. And now he's back. He's himself. He looks at Keyaru with terror and asks what happened. The healer explains everything about the time travel, about the resurrection, about the 5 years Kureha spent as an empty puppet. Then Keyaru asks if Kureha wants to see his daughter. The reunion happens a week later. Kureha's daughter is 12 now, living with her aunt in a neighboring kingdom. She barely remembers her father, who disappeared 5 years ago. When she's brought to the capital and sees Kureha alive, she doesn't believe it at first. Thinks it's some kind of trick, but Kureha knows things only her father would know. Secret jokes they shared, stories from when she was little, the lullaby he used to sing. She realizes it's really him. Father and daughter embrace, both crying, and Keyaru watches from a distance, feeling something he hasn't felt in a very long time. Satisfaction that isn't based on revenge or power or proving people wrong, just simple satisfaction at seeing something broken become whole. He begins the massive project of restoring his entire army, 700 undead soldiers. It takes months, the process is exhausting, and some people don't come back fully. Some are too damaged by death, or by the time they spent empty, their minds are fractured, their personalities incomplete, but most do return. Most wake up and remember and have to process what happened to them. Some hate Keyaru for killing them and using them and taking 5 years of their lives. He lets those ones leave, gives them money and resources to start over wherever they want. Most stay, not because they're forced to, because where else would they go? In Keyaru's kingdom, former criminals are given genuine second chances. They died for their crimes. Coming back to life is literally a fresh start. The Restoration Project transforms the kingdom fundamentally. The undead army becomes a volunteer force of living citizens who have experienced death and chose to serve anyway. They're not fearless because they can't feel fear. They're fearless because they've already faced the worst possible outcome and know it's not the end. The kingdom's enemies find this even more terrifying than the undead ever were. You can't intimidate people who have already died and returned. You can't threaten them with consequences they've already experienced. Keyaru's relationship with the hero's party changes during this period too. He restores their humanity one by one. Blade comes back first, remembers everything about the original timeline and everything about the 5 years he spent as a puppet. He tries to attack Keyaru in rage. The healer lets him land the first punch, lets Blade break his jaw as payment for what happened. Then Keyaru heals the injury and explains. Blade was following orders in the original timeline. The kingdom's culture made him into a weapon. Keyaru is just giving him the choice to be something else now. Blade thinks about this for 3 days, then decides to stay as the captain of the Royal Guard. He's good at fighting, might as well use that skill to protect people instead of hurting them. Bullet comes back and immediately requests permission to leave. Keyaru grants it with provisions and money. 3 months later, Bullet returns voluntarily, says he traveled to 4 different kingdoms, and they're all worse than this one. At least here, the tyrant is honest about being a tyrant. Bullet becomes the kingdom's chief of scouts, uses his incredible perception and accuracy to map territories and gather intelligence. Norn comes back screaming and trying to kill Keyaru with every spell she knows. He stands there and takes it. lets her attack until she's exhausted, then asks if she feels better. She says no. He says that's fair. She becomes his advisor on magical research, specifically working on ethical guidelines to prevent the kind of abuses she once committed. Flair is the last one he restores. He's afraid of what she'll become. She was the worst of them in the original timeline, the leader, the one who set the tone for everyone else's cruelty. When she wakes up and remembers everything, both the original timeline and the 5 years as his servant, her first words are an apology. She doesn't make excuses, doesn't try to justify her actions, just says she's sorry for being a monster. Keyaru doesn't forgive her, tells her that forgiveness isn't his to give. She needs to earn it from every person she ever hurt, if she even can. Flair spends the next year traveling the kingdom, finding people she injured during the Demon War, offering them whatever restitution she can provide. Most refuse to even speak to her. Some accept her apology but can't forgive. A few actually forgive her, which seems to hurt worse than the rejections. She returns to the capital a different person, humbled and broken and maybe incrementally better than she was. Keyaru gives her a position as an ambassador, uses her fame and her understanding of how heroes think to negotiate with other nations. 10 years after Keyaru took the throne, the kingdom is unrecognizable from what it used to be. It's the wealthiest nation on the continent. Education is universal and free. Healthcare is available to everyone. Crime is almost non-existent because reformed criminals remember what dying was like and prefer not to repeat the experience. The legal system is harsh but fair. The military is volunteer only and made up of people who chose to serve rather than being conscripted. Other kingdoms have tried to copy the model. They can't. They don't have a healer who can resurrect the dead and restore their souls. Keyaru is 24 now. He looks the same as he did at 14 because he constantly heals his own aging, reverses cellular damage, repairs telomere degradation, maintains his body in perfect condition. He could theoretically live forever, but he's tired. Ruling a kingdom is exhausting. Maintaining the mental connection to 700 formerly dead citizens is draining. Constantly healing civilians who need help is time-consuming. He starts training successors, young healers who might be able to take over when he's ready to retire. Most of his students can't handle the requirements. Healing magic demands experiencing the pain of others, willingly suffering for the sake of helping. Most people aren't built for that kind of sacrifice, but a few show promise. One student in particular stands out, a girl named Sasuna who has both healing magic and a personal grudge against the old kingdom's nobility. She learns quickly, masters techniques that took Keyaru years to develop, shows creativity in applying healing magic to new problems. Keyaru realizes something important as he trains Setsuna. He became powerful by suffering, by experiencing unimaginable pain and refusing to let it break him. His students need similar tempering, but he refuses to torture them the way he was tortured. Instead, he teaches them to heal the worst cases they can find. Soldiers with catastrophic injuries, civilians with terminal diseases, people who are barely alive and desperately need help. Every healing is agony for the student. Every successful treatment is a lesson in endurance and sacrifice, and using suffering as fuel for growth. The final test of Keyaru's rule comes when a neighboring kingdom launches an invasion. They've spent 10 years preparing specifically to counter his army. Holy magic users who can permanently kill resurrected soldiers. Enchanted weapons that prevent resurrection. Tactics designed to target living civilians instead of the military. It's a clever plan. Almost works. The battle is brutal. For the first time in a decade, Keyaru's forces take real losses. Permanent losses. Soldiers who die and stay dead because holy magic burns away the connection between body and soul. Keyaru joins the battle personally. He hasn't fought in years, has spent his time ruling and teaching instead of training, but the skills are still there. 2.5 years of stolen combat knowledge, 10 years of experience wielding absolute power, every technique he learned, every ability he stole, all of it combined with a decade of refinement. The enemy army has 5,000 soldiers with anti-resurrection abilities. Keyaru kills them all in 6 hours. Not because he's stronger or faster than any individual soldier, but because he understands healing on a level they literally cannot comprehend. Holy magic burns the soul. Keyaru heals souls. Every time they hit him with their supposedly permanent death spells, he reverses the damage, heals the spiritual wounds the same way he heals physical ones. It's agonizing, like having his entire existence erased and rebuilt repeatedly, but he's experienced worse. 6 months of torture in a laboratory taught him that there are fates worse than death. This is just pain. He can handle pain. When the battle ends, 5,000 enemy soldiers are dead. Keyaru stands alone on the battlefield, covered in wounds that heal in real time. His own army has taken heavy losses. 300 soldiers permanently killed by holy magic. 300 people who can't be brought back even with his advanced resurrection techniques. Some deaths are final. Some damage can't be healed. Keyaru kneels among the permanent corpses and tries anyway, pours everything he has into them, attempts to heal souls that have been completely destroyed. It doesn't work. He's not actually omnipotent, just very, very skilled. But even skill has limits. The funerals last 3 days. The entire kingdom mourns these 300 soldiers who chose to serve and died protecting their nation. They're buried as heroes with full honors. Keyaru speaks at each service personally, names each soldier, recites their accomplishments, thanks them for their sacrifice. It's genuine. These people died protecting his kingdom, his responsibility, his burden. He won't forget them. The invasion has geopolitical consequences. The kingdom that attacked is now vulnerable, their army destroyed, their borders undefended, their leadership exposed as having launched an unprovoked war of aggression. Keyaru's advisors push for a counter-invasion. It would be easy. They could conquer the entire enemy nation in weeks, establish dominance, expand the kingdom's territory and influence. But Keyaru refuses. He didn't build this kingdom to become an empire. He built it to prove that healing magic isn't weak, that the power everyone mocked could reshape the world. Conquering his enemies would just make him the same as them. Instead, he offers peace. Sends ambassadors to the hostile kingdom with an unprecedented proposal. They tried to destroy him and failed catastrophically. Now he'll heal them, provide medical aid to their wounded soldiers, cure their sick civilians, help rebuild what the war destroyed. In exchange, they acknowledge his kingdom's sovereignty and establish fair trade relations. The enemy king is baffled. His invasion killed 300 people and cost Keyaru immense resources. Why would anyone respond to such aggression with mercy? Keyaru's answer is simple and profound. Killing is easy. Healing is hard. He spent 2.5 years learning how to kill. He spent 10 years learning how to heal. Which lesson actually matters? The enemy kingdom accepts the offer because refusing would be insane. Within a year, they're allies. Within 5 years, they're integrated into a larger confederation of nations with Keyaru's kingdom at the center. Not through military conquest, but through demonstration of superior values. He showed them that healing magic can do everything combat magic does, then showed them what it can do beyond combat. 20 years after taking the throne, Keyaru is 34 years old, but looks 18 due to constant age reversal. His kingdom has grown into a confederation of 7 nations united by mutual benefit rather than military force. The resurrected army is mostly phased out now, replaced by living volunteers who train in both combat and healing. Medical advances from Keyaru's research have extended average lifespans by 20 years across the entire confederation. Diseases that once devastated populations are now routinely curable. Healing magic, once considered the weakest and most pathetic ability, is now the most sought-after skill in multiple kingdoms. Keyaru's former tormentors have all found redemption, or at least purpose. Blade commands the royal military, training soldiers in both martial arts and field medicine. Bullet runs an academy for scouts and rangers, teaching young people about perception, precision, and awareness. Norn leads the Magical Research Institute, developing new healing applications while maintaining strict ethical guidelines. Flair travels the Confederation as an ambassador, using her reformed reputation to promote cooperative values over conquest. But Keyaru himself is exhausted. He spent 20 years using his magic constantly, healing civilians, maintaining resurrection enchantments, teaching students, fighting when necessary. His body doesn't age, but his mind does. He feels every one of those 20 years compressed into a consciousness that started this timeline at 14. He's achieved everything he set out to do, proved healing magic wasn't weak, built a kingdom on principles of preservation over destruction, changed the entire world's understanding of what healers can accomplish. Now he's ready to move on. He chooses Setsuna as his successor. She's mastered everything he can teach except full resurrection, which remains uniquely his, but she can heal at a level that surpasses most mages. She's ready. The coronation happens on a beautiful spring morning. Setsuna becomes the new ruler of the kingdom, while Keyaru steps down. At the ceremony, she asks him what he plans to do now. Keyaru says he's going to travel, maybe find the village he left when he was 14. See if anyone he knew is still alive. Maybe just wander and heal people who need it without the weight of governing. Setsuna asks if he regrets anything. Keyaru thinks carefully before answering. about the people he killed, the suffering he caused, the revenge he took, the kingdom he built on a foundation of resurrected corpses and justified cruelty. He says he regrets the collateral damage, the 300 soldiers who died permanently, the civilians who got caught in crossfire during his rise to power, the unintended consequences, but the revenge itself, the torture he inflicted on his torturers, making them suffer as they made him suffer. He doesn't regret that. They deserved it. And he'd do it again, even knowing it was arguably wrong. That's what makes them regrets. You'd make the same choices despite knowing the cost. Keyaru leaves the capital quietly. No ceremony beyond the coronation, no announcement. Just walks out the gate with a small pack and a simple healing staff. People recognize him, of course. The emperor who conquered death, the healer who killed the demon king, the boy who proved everyone wrong about healing magic. Some ask for autographs, some request healing. He obliges both. A child with a twisted leg, an elderly woman with failing sight, a merchant with chronic pain. He heals them all, experiencing their suffering, taking it into himself, transforming it into restoration. It's what healers do. 50 miles from the capital, Keyaru stops in a small village that reminds him of Renalia. It's peaceful and poor and simple, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone. A young boy approaches him, maybe 12 years old, nervous and excited, says he has healing magic, just awakened last week. His parents are worried because everyone says healers are weak and useless. The boy asks if it's true, if healing magic is really worthless. Keyaru kneels down to the boy's eye level and smiles, thinks about 2.5 years of torture and 6 months of experimentation and 20 years of ruling and countless moments of agony turned into strength. He tells the boy that healing magic is the strongest ability in existence, but only if you're willing to suffer for it. Every wound you heal, you experience. Every pain you cure, you feel. It's not like fire magic where you attack from a distance. Healing requires sharing the damage, taking the hurt into yourself. Most people can't handle that, but if you can, if you're willing to endure what others won't, then there's literally nothing you can't do. Cure diseases, reverse aging, bring back the dead, heal time itself, reshape reality. All of it starts with being willing to hurt. The boy's eyes light up with understanding and determination. He says he wants to learn, wants to be strong like the stories say Keyaru was. The former emperor tells him to find the capital, ask for Empress Setsuna. She's training the next generation of healers and will teach him everything. The boy thanks him enthusiastically and runs off, already planning his journey. Keyaru watches him go, feeling unexpected hope, not for himself, for the kid, for everyone who gets dismissed and underestimated and told their gifts don't matter. He continues walking. The road ahead is long and uncertain. He has no destination, no grand plan, no world-changing purpose anymore. For the first time since he was 14 years old, Keyaru is just a healer traveling through the world, helping where he can, experiencing pain and transforming it into something better. It's what he's always done when you strip away the revenge and the kingdom and the power. It's what healing magic is supposed to be. Not weakness, not submission, not servitude, but the willingness to take suffering and turn it into strength. Somewhere behind him, a confederation of 7 nations built on the principle that healing is the most powerful magic continues to thrive. Students learn to endure pain for the sake of helping others. Soldiers train in medical care as extensively as combat. The resurrected army has transitioned to living volunteers who serve knowing they can't truly die as long as skilled healers stand ready. A world where preservation matters more than destruction. Keyaru's legacy isn't the revenge he took, or the enemies he killed, or the torture he endured, or even the kingdom he built. It's the proof, the undeniable demonstration that healing magic can reshape the entire world. That the power everyone dismissed as worthless can defeat demon kings and revive armies and build empires and fundamentally change the nature of life and death itself. All it requires is someone willing to suffer for it. Someone who refuses to break no matter how much it hurts. Someone who looks at the worst pain imaginable and says, yes, I can heal that. The boy who was mocked for only knowing healing magic became the emperor who conquered death itself. The healer everyone laughed at built a confederation on the principle that preservation is the highest form of power, and now, 20 years later, he walks away from it all. Just another traveler on an endless road ready to heal whoever needs it. Because that's what healers do. They take broken things and make them whole. They take suffering and transform it. They prove, again and again, that there's no such thing as weak magic, only weak resolve. And Keyaru's resolve has never wavered. Not through torture, not through death, not through time itself. He is what he always was, a healer, the strongest kind of person there is.